Hi, everyone. Welcome to our conversation Out of Time on Care. This is done in conjunction with the National Asian American Theater Company's production of Out of Time at the Public Theater. We're here with actors and writers from the show.
Hi, I'm Mia Katigbak. I am the actor manager and co-founder of NatCo, and I'm also performing one of the pieces, Mia Chung's Ball in the Air.
My name's Jacqueline Backus. I use she, her pronouns. I am one of the playwrights for Out of Time. My piece is called Black Market Caviar.
My name's Glenn Kubota. I'm part of the Out of Time cast. I play the character of Taki in the piece titled Japanese Folk Song.
I'm Mia Chung, and I'm a playwright. I wrote Ball in the Air for Mia Katigbak.
Hi, I'm Natsuko Ohama, and I am performing Sam Chance's Disturbance Specialist.
Hi, I'm Rita Wolf, and I am working with NatCo at the Public Theatre on the play Out of Time, the series of monologues. My monologue is Black Market Caviar by Jacqueline Backhouse, in which I play the character of Carla.
I think that there has been a thread through all of the pieces around different ideas on how to care for oneself or how to care for others. And so I thought that it would be really great for the writers and actors to just tell us, when you hear the term care, what does that mean to you?
I always like to say you have to attend, which means you're there physically, but you're also attending to whoever you're having a relationship, professional, personal. You have to be attentive to what it is that they're trying to tell you. Maybe don't want to tell you, can't, but really need some sort of care.
There's a kind of like a kind of split in terms of what we know and what we do. And I think that happens to a lot of people when they're dealing with the issue of particularly self-care. Self-care is a very complicated issue, especially for people in the arts. We don't work as colleagues in an office where we spend 15, 20 years in the same place. So you can't care for your colleagues in the same way. The demands are different.
In a company of artists, it's hard to express what you need because you feel vulnerable.
You share really profound moments, and there's a respect and a support of them, and then as you get to know different personalities, we're always, this is our kind of joke, but it's really true, is that the Asians are always bringing food. That's a way of showing support to the cast. Having a conscious social interaction with people, being aware of the needs of different individuals depending on their situation. Some people have more lines that they have to focus on at a particular time. So you try not to dominate a space, for example, because people have to be able to focus on themselves. People have their different ways of working. We come from different disciplines in the style of our acting, so you have to be aware a little bit of that, what process is for each individual person.
Outside of the show, what gives you care?
I've had one very, very good friend. I've lived where I am for about 18 months at this point. And I have now one very good friend who lives locally to me now, within walking distance. And I will say that she has been my anchor. It cuts across friendship, food, and care. I had a birthday recently, last week, and my previous birthday at the end of February was kind of a bust. There was nothing, we were right in the middle of it. And yet Diana still managed to give me a birthday. She still gave me a birthday. She cooked for me. She gave me a birthday cake. She sang happy birthday. She did the whole thing in the middle of a pandemic.
Luckily, I don't have a lot of personal responsibilities. I'm here kind of by myself, so I have a responsibility to learning language in a way that I try to be conscious about exploring the amount of sleep I get. I have to force myself like a 9-year-old child. I have to have consciousness about drinking water, which I really am not fond of, but I know I have to do that. You got to keep the mechanism going. So those are personal things. And then diet for the kind of nutrition. That's very, I want carbs. I grew up on a potato farm, so when I'm in stress, I always my thing is like boil some potatoes and then just secretly eat them. That's care, but it's also not care. So I have a duality with that.
The things that I know that I need, and I've been more conscious of lately in terms of what gets in the way of my being my best, is lack of sleep, um, hydration. I try to walk as much as I can because it's so easy when you're just, sedentary, and especially because of lockdown. Learning to turn my brain off, just to give it a rest. Or pick up a book and something that requires you to concentrate on something else. That's challenging in itself, but it takes you away from your current situation.
I am focused on exercising. That includes going to the gym and going to the pool. I have this little belt that I wear in the pool, so it keeps me vertical, so I can run in the water in the deep end. I did a lot of cross-country running in college and high school, and so, but I have a bad left foot now, so I can't run anymore. The concept of exercising for me is it's stabilizing in a way because it allows me to plan my week.
I've always been a huge proponent of like journaling as care, of like trying to inscribe things to remember as care, of like making lists as care for myself for the future. There's a little bit of an illusion in the piece that exists now in the text that speaks to, working toward healing yourself, working toward caring for yourself, learning how to care for yourself, remembering how to care for yourself so that you can go out and, attempt to heal the parts of the world that are damaged, attempt to heal other people around you who are hurting.
Is there a difference between, or what is the difference between taking care of the actors that are in the production and taking care of the writers?
Because the needs are different. The vulnerabilities are different. The processes are different. The creation process, for instance, is very different. I feel that actors are interpretive, but also, especially with new work, can be generative as well. So, encouraging that kind of, in a sense, circular relationship is really important.
The kind of confines or sort of like boundaries of a normal playmaking process were kind of done away with in some ways because of how personal the piece gets, and also because of I think all of the kind of punishing time we've all endured these last few years. It felt like Rita and me both were ready to kind of go a little bit deeper than we've gone in other processes.
Because of the nature of what she's written, there has in trying to get to the bottom of what is very new writing. It's very new. It doesn't have a history yet. It's still forming. It's now formed, but over the weeks that we were working, it was finding I think with all the pieces, finding exactly what it is that the writer was trying to say with the piece. In Jacqueline's case, possibly more than any other, because it was rather than being personal to family members, it was very personal to her. And I think we had to care how we stepped around the subject of her work.
And that, I think, offered us both, the opportunity to trust each other immediately.
Jacqueline did gradually, I think it was realizing the implications of what she had written. I'm some years older than Jacqueline, and I've been working in theatre a lot longer. And I think she realized, that's what the fascinating thing about working with younger writers on this project is that they, if they choose to, can have access to a wealth of experience that the older performers have. And I think Jacqueline, possibly this was a new experience for her, collaborating with someone of her mother's generation,
There are moments in time when it feels like a consciousness that seems older than me and older than all of myself, like will just hit me all of a sudden. And it's kind of an alarming feeling, but it feels like it connects, it's like connects my consciousness somehow to the consciousness of things that have lived before and perhaps will live after.
Is there something that you make for others? What is the thing that you like to share, and where does it come from?
I used to make adobo just the way my mother and my grandmother used to make them. And then somebody brought some to a show that I was doing. It was not the traditional Filipino way of doing it. And it's Laura Kai Chan. And I went, this is so embarrassing. You're not even Filipino and your adobo is better than mine. And she said, it's the recipe from the New York Times that was taken from, at the time, this restaurant called Cendrillon. And Romy, the owner and head chef there, kind of, zhuzhes his recipes. He makes this kind of nouvelle versions of it. So he made this version. And the New York Times published it. So I went, I tried it, and that's how I make my adobo these days.
Diana, of course, made a shakshuka a few months ago, and I just saw it on her stove, and I was very impressed by the look of it. And I said, "Wow!" And she said, "No, it's really easy." And so it was in the back of my mind. So okay, yeah, I'll try that sometime. And then I will say, I saw this incredible looking recipe in the New York Times, which added the feta cheese. And I said, okay, that's the one I'm going to make.
I have, which I do very rarely now. It's a pomegranate cheesecake that I make. And the secret to the cheesecake, if you don't like the kind of too heavy, thick, intense one, is putting mascarpone in there, like cream cheese, and then a third of that mascarpone, and it makes it incredibly soft and tasty.
It was my friend's birthday. I made this like pumpkin curry that I'd never made, that was from a recipe, but I brought in like my mom's raita recipe. I had all the boys rolling, doing roti, and like rolling them out. And, there was like a little bit of like a communal act. I was like, you do this, but I'll handle these three things. There's that thing that people say where you're like about songs, where you're like, oh, I've heard this song before, but it's a new song. It's like something about it strikes to the core. I feel that same way about food. When I'm like, I've eaten this. This is like something about this is like stringing me all the way back to like, something else that I've experienced.
Is there someone that you have a type of connection with?
So, I'd say the last year and a half of her life, my mom passed away in August. One of the things I thanked COVID for was I moved in with her, I lived with her. I learned to cook these Filipino foods, actually, that were never part of what I would normally cook. It was also the passing along of that, teaching me how to do it, that was kind of, it brought us even closer together. It was an incredible gift in terms of a great period of intimacy.
The thing about my family, and I'm the only one that doesn't live up in Canada, in Alberta, really. And I always feel very close with them. I always carry inside of myself a sense of confidence and commitment and support from my family, and that's unspoken.
Because of the pandemic, I haven't seen my two nephews very frequently for years. For my nephew, the first in the next generation, I thought to myself, what do I want to give him? And I realized that the thing that would be very sad is if he didn't have a real sense of the family lore. So what I organized was this family story scavenger hunt that we did over FaceTime. He has a Korean middle name, which is Hyun. So the scavenger hunt was, what is the meaning of Hyun? And so he called my father, and my father explained. And then it passed to my mother. My birthday was recently, and like a day or two before, my older sister said, "Hey, can we find a time to talk on Sunday?" Which was my birthday, and I was like, sure, sure. Is everything okay?" And she was like, "Oh yeah, yeah, yeah." So I was like, "Okay." So the next day on my phone it says the originals, because that's um, my little tag for when my parents and my siblings call me. I was so confused, but then when I hit accept the call, in that second I was like, "Oh, she's doing that for me." Like creating like a family moment for me on FaceTime. And I can't tell you. I mean, it was honestly the best, very, very, very best gift I've ever received. I'm usually the one creating it, and everyone's like, "All right, when do I have to call?" You know, but someone did that for me. Of course, I never thought that I was organizing this for Ryder, my nephew, because secretly I wanted it. It just wasn't in that conscious realm of my imagination. But she knew.
I really have no family here. So my friendships, particularly my female friendships, often with the mothers of children my children were at school with, but not exclusively, are extremely important. They've become very, very important as a kind of surrogate to not having a family here.
My mother turned 97 in August, so she'll be 98 this coming August. And she fell. So that caused all kinds of commotion in the family, because everybody said, "Oh, that's her age, so she needs care." But she's a very independent woman. Before she fell, she used to run on the treadmill every day for 30 minutes. And for many, many, many years, she belonged to a group that played cards once a month. In fact, this group was started back in the 40s. Actually, maybe it was early 50s, after the camps, Japanese Americans coming back from the internment camps. She has caregivers now, because the family felt that she needed to be watched all the time. So she has 24-hour care now.
One of my great colleagues, Andre Belgrader, died 2 days ago, and I have been carrying every week, right, Mia? Every week, someone is passing at our age. At first, I thought this was accidental, like, oh my God, this is like, but now I realize the rhythm of the thing, and it's not COVID. Some might be, but mine is basically heart or cancer or something. It's just that thing keeps going like this, and being able to carry someone in your heart that way and in your mind is really helpful in mitigating the kind of pain, because then at least I'm speaking for myself, I feel their closeness, I feel the history and the presence and the inspiration. And that's true for getting to be so many people now.
Yeah. Well, I think we were talking about it when you told me about Andre, and it's also we're of that age. There are contemporaries. That speaks a lot to your capacity, Nats. I mean, if you talk about carrying all these people with you, the capacity of your heart and soul has to be huge to carry them all. So,
Yeah, yeah. Well, our hearts get that way, don't they?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we have to make room for it, yeah. Then we do. So,
Thank you.